All right. So guys, I don't know if you know me. Obviously, you know Josh. He's been running calls inside in here before, but myself and Larry met in sales what, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this stage. We were
Yeah.
both kind of starting out. We both done 40, 50, 60K months as a closer, like straight commissions. Moved into managing teams, and then we started kind of seeing the same problems across all the teams in terms of what closers are doing and what they're not doing. We kind of got sick of it. So that's why we built out what we're going to be coaching everybody on here today.
Yeah.
So that's the quick and dirty intro. We can go into a little bit more detail later on if things make sense.
Yeah.
But good to see all you guys.
Yeah.
And
Basically,
Jimmy's a caller
Jimmy,
anyway, so we can go into the group.
yeah, Jimmy was Bill Walsh's one of his coaches on there. So back in the day. And then, yeah, that's how we met. So known each other a while. We speak far too much.
I know. That's it. All right, guys. So let's not waste your time. So there's a big, massive fucking elephant in the room here. I don't know if we're allowed to swear on here, but I get an editor to cut it out later if we have to. Most people, like, if you get into sales and you've been in the game, you're paying for training and you're in here for like 6 to 12 months and you're still not averaging 15K a month, you are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Now, it's very easy to externalize all these things. Oh, it's my offer. Oh, it's my marketing. Oh, it's my skills. It's my objection handling. It is what it is. But like at the end of the day, you guys get paid to reframe prospects on calls. But if you can't reframe yourself in terms of what you're doing and what you're not doing in sales, you're never going to be able to effectively do it to a prospect, right? Myself and RG, we're friends or colleagues with pretty much every sales trainer in the space. You know, we worked very closely with Matt when we built our committed coaches, and you see it every single month. It's always the same 20, even across the whole industry, across all these different programs, it's always the same like 20, 30 names that are popping up on leaderboards all the time. And it's hilarious because that same name will be used as a case study for like 4 different sales trainers, which is beside the point. But the point being is that everybody has access to the same resources. They have access to the same training, right? Information wise, you can find courses online, like ripped in Telegram groups. All the content is out there for free. And at the end of the day, most people in the online space in general and salespeople are the worst for it because we always love investing in ourselves. We're absolute criminals for just investing in more and more coaching and more information and more new stuff to learn, which is obviously pulling us further away from actually knowing what we need to do right here, right now. Okay. That's what we're here for, is to remove the noise, remove the bullshit, and help you guys see what you are doing and what you're not doing that's holding you back from making the money you want to make. All right, Largy, anything to add to that?
No, spot on. We only really had this conversation a few months ago, guys, because we're, like I said, we're in all the trainers groups, and consistently, like James said, it's the top 5, 10, 30 people, depending on the group size, all making the biggest money, you know, and like we've spoken to numerous closers and it's been like, oh, since you paid for X training, do you feel like it's made you more confused? And a lot of people have said yes, because you're just given a crap load of information. You then really don't know how to learn it or implement it. You then see some more stuff on YouTube. You end up doing a vicious cycle of consuming all day, but not actually doing anything. So we'll cover that as well. Does that resonate with any of you guys? Firstly, you can free to speak in here, my friend. I don't want to risk pronouncing your name wrong.
No, just call me Frankie. But yeah, that resonates. When I was starting off in sales, all I was doing was just watching YouTube and Josh Lance's role plays and not really putting any work in myself. So yeah, that resonates.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And guys, like at the end of the day, there's the conversation about internal locus of control and external locus of control, but it's not really your fault, right? Because if the content you're consuming from people who are where you want to be and all they're telling you is buy my training, like you need this new script, this new framework, this new way of handling objections, it's very easy to just fall into that belief that you need more, but you don't, right? Like again, we're not speaking to complete beginners here in general. We're speaking to people who've been in the space for at least like 6, 7, 8 months, who have some sort of process that they're following. They've consumed a lot of sales content, but they've just forgotten half of it, or else they're just not using it on their calls or not using it throughout their day. Right.
Yeah.
So
the best thing here, guys, well, is we're not here to shit on any sales trainer or any rep, because the sales trainers have the info. A lot of them just don't have the time to give you guys the one-on-one access. And then you guys invest in the coaching or the sales training and you don't actually know how to implement it properly. So it's kind of like a massive missing gap, you see.
Okay, all of you guys can go for it. You don't need to answer out loud. Can you answer all of these questions right now? You can. Frankie,
Yeah.
you're not in your name. How much commission have you made year to date?
Year to date, is it like 2026 to
Yes.
now? Honestly, maybe like 5K.
Honestly, maybe like 5K.
Yeah, 5,000. Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, 5,000.
Okay. Are you happy with that?
Fuck no.
Okay. What number would you want to be at, given that we're 7 months, 6.5 months into the year? Where would you want to be?
10K per month. That's my goal.
Okay. So that's what, 65K you should be at? There's a 60K gap, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what exactly why you're not at 60K?
Yeah, I do. So I was on an offer that pretty much died, got low lead flow, was looking for another offer, and now the new offer I'm on, I'm setting my own leads and my own calls. So that's not going as well as I hoped.
When did you leave that first offer that broke?
March.
So, 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. 4 month gap to get on a new account and actually start getting commissions up again. It should not take 4 months for that to happen, right?
It shouldn't.
You don't know how, but that's why we're here, right? Like this is one of those things, guys, where if you're not aware of exactly what the problem is, you're going to have a very tough time putting yourself in a situation where you can shrink that time to being able to fix the bottleneck that's causing you to make more money, right? These questions, you don't need to answer every single one, but the main purpose here is that if you cannot answer them, you're probably not lacking in your skill set. You probably don't need more sales techniques and more ways of handling objections. You don't even know what's wrong. You don't even know what's specifically holding you back. And if you don't know, you can't fix it, right? And one thing I would urge you guys to be cautious of as well is not to just default to what every fucking closer does. Oh, it's my offer. Oh, my offer did this. Like, okay, that's fine, but like, what did you do to solve that? Were you already speaking to other people, other recruiters, other closers in good accounts where you could have a quick way in, so it takes a couple of days to onboard and not a couple of months, right? Questions to sit with, because all of these things are controllable if you actually do the right things day over day, week over week, month over month. Okay.
How long have you been in sales for, Frank? Thank you.
Since June 2025,
Okay.
my official like first sales role.
Yeah, and have you just been in Matt's program since then, or have you worked with anyone else trainers wise?
So I bought the NEPQ 2.0 course, like German lead miners.
Fine, well, that's not cheap, is it?
No, it was 4K at the time.
Okay, fine. So you invest in yourself a little bit. You've been in sales like just over a year. That's kind of what we spoke about earlier, is like when you have the skills, and you know what your issues are and you fix it, you will actually progress a lot quicker. But then you also get better known in the space. So when you need an offer, you get an offer a lot quicker. You know, like James and I have never ever had to apply for an offer per se. I've been in the space 3 years. I've only had 3 offers. That's it. You know, all of them making 40, 50K a month, just because, you know, when you, and I'm not the best, like there's loads of people way better than me. But when you're good, you can get introduced into offers just like that, you see.
And there's a way to do it as well.
Yeah, Mason, dude. Yep.
So this is one major factor. And I would say it's probably responsible for 80-90% of why closers are not making the money they want to make. Again, because they're so infatuated with skill set and they're so infatuated with every sales guru out there telling them that they need to learn their new process. You have to learn this. If you're not doing this on your calls, you're going to be broke. All these things, right? It's all internet marketing at the end of the day. But you can go and invest in the highest tier of coaching. You can spend 15 grand on a coaching offer, and you can have 6, 7, 8 calls, coaching calls per week, right? Multiple role plays, multiple call breakdowns, one-on-one call reviews, all these things. None of those hours will ever pay you, no matter what. Right? When we came into committed coaches, this was something we flagged very early on with our team, because with committed coaches, they had such a great infrastructure training wise between myself and Largy, Eli Sanchez, Matt, all these guys, all top tier sales trainers running like 8, 9, 10 calls a week. And we had people come into the team and they were attending like 8 hour long calls a week. So it's 8 hours that they were spending learning new things in every single call, getting more confused, not implementing any of it. And on top of that, it's 8 hours that they could not be speaking to leads, right? Yeah. Guys, the only thing that's going to actually make you money in sales is speaking to somebody who can pay you, right? Speaking to a live prospect on a call. Now, this is where, for an example, like Frankie's example earlier on, where the marketing broke, right? Just because marketing breaks on an account, all that means is that your inbound lead flow goes down, right? And what will most closers do in that case? They used to have 20 calls booked in per week. Now they have 4. And what are they going to fill the rest of their hours with? More training, right? More scrolling on Instagram for the newest kid coming out of ripping off Chase Hughes content. and now they're a genius in NLP apparently, and you go and pay them 5 grand, and now you add more and more coaching calls, right? You wanted to make 10 grand a month, and now instead of making 10 grand a month, you're -5 because you went and spent money on another course when the course was never your bottleneck, right? In that situation, there's a pipeline of all the people you spoke to before who did not close, all of your no-shows, all of the clients you did close. If they're having a good experience, which they should be, right? If people are having a shit experience or a shitty offer, you probably want to jump to a new account. And you can generate new deals off them, right? Now, everybody knows this, and I know Matt is super, like, he talks about this all the time on the YouTube channel about sales reps being baby birds. But if you don't have a system for this, like, you're just never going to have it, right? Where I first saw this happen, and Largy can add to this point as well, when we both joined VShred, VShred is what committed coaches used to be, guys. For any of you who are brand new to the sales, like VShred was an absolute cracked offer at the time, but they had a huge team.
The best.
They were over 100 sales reps on that team. And no matter who you were, when you come into that team new, you started on the most gutter trash leads of all time, the tier 3 leads, right? Which is pretty common for any big offer across the space. Now, me and Largy looked into the system, and we realized that the people who were on the top tier of leads, they were triple booking all of their calls, right? Just to maximize their show rate and maximize just DQing every lead they could to just get in front of somebody who was a laydown. There's a guy in the waiting room. And what we noticed was that they were not hitting any of the leads who they no-showed or any of the leads that they canceled. Yeah. So we built out workflows, and we hired 3 setters to go out there and reach out to all of these leads, book them on our calendars. We both made over 20K on our first month on the trashiest leads that there were. Only 2 people on the whole team to have done it. And then from there, we moved to tier 1, and we stayed in the top 5 reps throughout the whole time there. Largy was number 1 because he was doing cracked hours, right? I was a little less because I was more tuned into the life I wanted at that time. But point being is you have to look at the account, look at the systems that exist, look at the opportunity there is to make money, and actively go after it. If you just sit there passively waiting for somebody to reach out to you and put you on a top tier offer, or you're sitting there on an offer and being like, oh, the marketing is broken, I can't make money, you're always going to be in a state of that external locus of control where the offer owner decides how much money you make. And it's a shitty place to be.
Yeah.
But it is a solvable problem. Now, do you want to add anything to that from the committee guys or anything?
No, do we go into time wasting activities on here? I can't remember if we've got that in the slideshow or not.
Oh yeah, 100%. We can go into it here.
Yeah, because there's a few things, guys. So as a closer, anything where you could be on calls instead of doing something, you should be outsourcing it. So like an easy example for me is meal prep. Like even if you're going to spend an hour a day making your meals, you know, cooking the ingredients, chopping them up, washing up, whatever. If you outsource that, you have another hour where you can take 1 extra sales call for that day, you know? So it's like, yeah, it might cost you a little bit, but then that amount there, depending on your skill set and how well you implement it, should be way, 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 way less than what you're paying to outsource it. So then you're giving yourself an extra hour, whether that's 6 hours a week extra, you know, 312 hours extra a year to make extra cash. So yeah.
Do you think you could make more than what you're paying for your meals with 312 extra hours of money making activity? If your answer is no, then fuck, you got some bigger problems, right? Like the reason most people don't do this, guys, and they see something like meal prep or hiring a cleaner or, you know, hiring somebody to wash their clothes or whatever it is, the reason they don't do it is they just, like what your prospects do, they just look at the price tag.
Yep.
But if you don't have data to track your hourly rate, like Frankie was talking about 5K for the year, is like, what is that on an hourly rate, right? Let's say you're in a shitty situation, in like a shitty account, and you don't have all these systems in place to be able to generate revenue for yourself, but you've calculated your hourly rate to be like $20 an hour, let's say, right? Yeah. If your meal prep for the day costs less than $20, you should be paying that. Right? Like if it's going to take you an hour a day to do something, you can outsource that for less than $20, and that is 100% an opportunity cost. You have the data looking right back at you to show you, right? People know this, they understand this concept, but if you don't actually have the data in front of you, reminding you every day of what you could be doing,
yeah,
that's where people start falling into entropy, which we'll get into a little bit later on.
Right? Yeah, so like just jumping back on that, James, I literally outsource my washing, my meal prep, and all my cleaning. So like it saves me about 15 hours a week. which then covers the time I spend at the gym, which to me is an enhancement because better gym, better standards, better internal, better external, it helps everything. But I'm sacrificing outsourcing it, not sacrifice any activities I need to do to make myself better. Like 15 hours, I think that a week, I don't know what it costs. I don't even know, but I know I can make probably 20 times that by having an extra 15 hours a week to take productive sales calls or actually do something I want to fucking do as opposed to wash dirty laundry.
That's a huge point also, guys. Like it does not necessarily have to be like if you're outsourcing your meal prep, for example, like you might be doing your meal prep at 12 and you selling US hours from Europe, so you don't actually have any sales calls at 12. But what is it that you actually got into sales for, right? When you jumped on your first high ticket sales call for your guru who sold you on the biz op dream of taking 4 calls a day and making 20K a month at the beach, right? I can't imagine the lifestyle you wanted was taking 12 hours of sales calls a day, 7 days a week, which is what a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, why? Like, do you actually understand what number is enough for you and how did you actually come to that number? Right. Because you being able to outsource 4 or 5 hours a week, well, that's 4 or 5 hours a week. Like for me, I could go surf, right? Or for whatever hobbies you guys have, or if you have partners, you have family members that you actually want to spend time with, but you're neglecting all of that because you're just consuming fucking sales content, or you don't know exactly what your opportunity cost is, so you try to save money rather than just making more money, right? And all of that requires systems. It all requires tracking, so you know what you're actually dealing with. But fundamentally, it comes down to knowing what you actually want, which again we'll get into a little bit later on. All right. This is the whole numbers thing at the end of the day, guys. To Mason's point earlier on, when you're consuming all this content, you have all these new things coming into your life all the time, and you're like, well, what do I focus on? It starts with the problem, right? You guys all know, like when it comes to sales, if somebody doesn't have a problem, there's no sale to be made. There has to be something about their situation or whatever it is, the situation that they're in that you're selling the offer on. There has to be something that they're unhappy about, right? If they are 100% happy, first of all, they never would have booked a call, right? So it's
Lying.
usually
The
not
fucking
there.
lying.
But if they're 100% happy, you don't have anything to leverage your discovery off.
Yeah.
You don't have any future pace. You don't have any cost of action. You certainly cannot handle objections,
Yeah.
right? Everything in sales starts with a problem, and that applies to your call and your process as well. If you don't know what's costing you money, it could be your show rate, right? I know a few closers who are closing at like 70, 80%, and they're still jumping on coaching calls, but their show rate's 20%. It's like, bro, if you close at 80%, if you just got your closing rate or your show rate from 20% to 40%, you would double your income overnight. You wouldn't have to do anything to do with your skill set at all, right? If you're selling an amazing offer and people are getting fantastic results and you got one extra referral per month, right? A referral is a warm lead. You don't have to be doing pre-handling with them. You don't have to do a crazy sales process with them. It's like, hey, my buddy got great results with this. That's why I'm here. I want the same. Boom, there's an extra deal for you. It's generally going to be a paid in full, and you've made an extra deal that you didn't have to, that didn't cost any ad spend. So you can negotiate higher comms on that. So you actually made more money than you would if you just took an extra call,
And
right?
this here, guys, this isn't you guys reminisce that. We did a presentation in another group the other day, good friend of ours, big group, and there was 30, 40 people in there. Not one of them knew the numbers, you know. So like this is a proper thing we've noticed where because you get so infatuated with the word tracks, the heavy's the head that wears the crown, the is that a symptom or a problem, etc. And you jump on more calls. You don't ever spend the time reviewing your own calls to figure out where the problem is. You just consume, consume, consume. And a lot of closers are busy, so they feel productive. But being busy doing the wrong things, you may as well just be fucking pissing in the wind. Like you're literally just wasting time again.
Yeah. And guys, like I see you all nodding here, but if you take anything out of this call, like I would like the only thing I want you guys to take out of this call is like write down some of these things and actually go and do the work off the call to identify what these things are. Like Frankie, your example, when the offer dies, right? What most closers are going to spend their time on again is learning new skills, learning new word tracks, learning new frameworks. How do I get better at closing the deals that land on my calendar? But you have 2 calls a week coming on your calendar. If you close at 100%, which nobody does, the max amount of deals you're going to get that week is 2, right? In reality, even a top closer doing like 50% closing rate, which is good in the market we're in right now,
yeah.
You're closing 1 deal a week. right? It doesn't matter how good you are at sales on the calls, the maximum the deals you can close there is like one or two, maximum, right? 10K offer, 10% comms, let's assume you pivot all, that's 4K a month, maximum, right? Your issue is not your sales skills in that scenario. Your issue is your volume. And now you can look at your account and look at the pipeline, look at your referrals, look at your follow-ups, like where can I get more volume from? And as soon as you can start taking responsibility for that, that's something you can document, right? First of all, your offer owner is going to be happy because the leads they paid for, now they're getting more return on their ad spend there. You're going to be happy because you're making more commissions. But second of all, if you're eyeing up an offer that you really want to be on, but you don't have the reputation or you don't have a warm intro from the closer already on the team, well, now you can go to the business owner, and instead of being like every other closer who says, oh, I invested in this program and invested in this program, I do this, that, and the other, it's like, well, here's what I did on my last account. When the marketing broke, I generated an extra 200K in cash collected for that month, completely from my own self-generation of leads. I outbound dial them, I booked them in, I closed them, and the business owner, the marketing didn't have to feed me anything. I can do this in your account because I guarantee it. If it's a really good account and closers are making good money there, they're not doing this. There's offers that come around twice a year or so where everybody wants to be on them because everybody's doing 30, 40, 50K a month and they're the hottest commodity in the whole space. But if you're not already in there and you don't already have an existing reputation, like good fucking luck getting in there. There's so many more closers and there are good opportunities. This is how you put yourself in a league of your own to put yourself front of line when it comes to getting into those opportunities. All right. I only say that because every closer thinks it's their offer, but you can control that. Guys, I'm a sales bro these days, but for people who don't know, I have a chemical engineering degree that sits in a drawer back in Ireland that I don't use. I used to work for McLaren. So I wanted to chuck this in there because it gets my engineering brain going again. The second law of thermodynamics is called entropy, right? And please don't fall asleep, guys. Like take a fucking nicotine or something. It's only take 2 seconds. Every closed system left without energy input moves irreversibly towards its most disordered state. Order is never the default. Order is always the result of work. All right. So if you want to switch your brains back on here, what this actually means from a sales perspective is that all of these things that you're now learning you can control and you can do, none of that will ever happen by default, right? It takes work to manage all of these things. If they're not managed, they will automatically, by default, fall into fucking chaos, right? I can guarantee I can pull up all of your CRMs right now, and there's going to be a bunch of unfinished tasks, a bunch of calls that are marked as a no-show, but you actually rebooked them on the calendar, so they've been pitched. There's hundreds and hundreds of leads with no notes in there and no next touch point and no plan of how do we actually reignite this lead. That is the default state. That is always how it's going to be if you do not manage it. Okay. You cannot manage something you don't measure. And this is the kicker. You won't measure something if nobody is checking it. All right.
So why does fitness coaches, Jimmy, right? Why people are fitness coaches? Because they know what they need to do, but unfortunately, unless you got someone checking every week where you pay them some money, it's like, oh well, I know I should be eating right, but I'll start next week. Yeah. And like we did a poll to like 150 people, like 148 of them said if they'd have had weekly one-on-one check-ins with their sales trainer every single week, identifying the biggest bottleneck, the biggest constraint, they would all have made not just a little bit more, a hell of a lot more, which is where, we want to hold our prospects to a high standard and hold them accountable, but we're not even able to hold ourselves to that standard, which again is something we're going to be huge on.
Yeah. And guys, like you only have limited brain power, right? Like I have a personal training qualification, so as largely we still pay a fitness coach. It's not because we don't have the information.
Yeah, we do.
It's not that we don't know what to do, right? Like a progressive overload and calorie surplus or deficit, depending if you want to bulk or cut. Like it's super fucking simple. The reason we pay fitness coaches is for that accountability. It's outsourcing somebody else's systems and being like, because you can't outsource the fucking movement in the gym. You can't outsource what you put in your mouth. What you can outsource is absolutely everything else, right? But having that external accountability is the only thing that's actually going to keep you on track. And this is where I have a bone to pick with most sales managers who are just glorified sales trainers and they don't fucking manage anything, right? If they're not actually checking your numbers and they're holding you accountable to everything that's going on every week, they shouldn't be managers. right? They're just tired closers who decided, oh, I'm going to put myself in the manager seat in the sales team, collect an override, and I can just fucking sit pretty, right? That's what most of these guys do. And it's not what drives growth, right? What drove growth for us in management is activity and looking to extreme detail of where somebody's time is actually going, solving the bottlenecks. And that's what made them more money. It's what made the business more money, right? If somebody is not checking it, it's too easy to convince yourself that, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll just fill in that after the gym. Oh, I'll fill that in. I'm going on holiday this week. I'll move all these tasks that I've scheduled with these leads to next month. But you don't do it, right? So actually, any questions on that before we go any further? That's an important point. All right, is this making sense? Are you picking up what we putting down, or is it all bullshit?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, perfect. Why does it make sense?
What's not tracked can be measured, and what's not measured, no, I got the other way around. Basically, we have to track and measure everything that we do and put in the activity to keep ourselves accountable. That's what I got from it.
And why do you feel that accountability is important?
That I hold myself accountable or that someone else holds me accountable,
That the
or both ways.
accountability exists. Right?
Because you won't do it otherwise if you're not being accountable.
Cool. Frankie, chuck me your email in the school DMs. I'll give you a free one-on-one. Thanks for
Okay,
being
cool. Yeah,
thanks
we'll
for
do.
taking part. All right.
Thanks.
And again, like James said, it's the another real top one of the top trainers in the world. Like he was saying how important it is what we talk about when we cover activity. It's like you've got to do the right things, because if you're just doing things for the sake of doing things, it's probably because you don't have someone holding you accountable to the things you should be doing. Because like, imagine if you could see every single day where the actual time you were spending in terms of your activity was actually going. Like daily tracker. Oh, well, I should be at the gym at 9 a.m., but I felt a bit shit, so I ended up watching some more content for 30 minutes. Again, you're just getting more confused about actually doing the work. And just showing you guys that will give you a massive, massive ROI, because you actually know where your time is going. It's more organized, you've got more structure. Therefore, you're just going to implement better on the back of that as well. The only incongruency I see with a lot of sales closers, sales pros, whatever you want to call them, is they're all lazy as fuck. You know, they wake up, they go on calls, they eat like shit, they work too many hours, they sleep like crap, and they just grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. At that point, you're better off being in a fucking 9 to 5. At least then you actually have some freedom and you can eat meals and you can actually take care of yourself. So even though health and standards isn't the most important thing, like every single man as a man should want to hold themselves to a pretty good standard. Like I think maximum 12 to 15% body fat is where a man should sit. If you're over that, you're fat. Like that is just a fact. If you are over that, again, you've got to ask yourself, why are you okay to challenge prospects and identity shift them when you're not living the identity of someone you want your prospects to be? But as simple things, this isn't about getting woo-woo. It's not about spending millions on supplements. It's about nail the things that are actually going to move the lever. So like sleep. If you ask every single biggest biohacker, biggest fitness pro in the world, all the studies, there isn't an amount of supplementation or peptides or drugs you can take to out improve quality sleep. Doesn't exist. So if you could just elevate your sleep, eat at a good baseline in terms of food, you will generally feel better every day. You'll have more clarity, better cognition. Better quality sleep means you retain information better. So if you spend all day learning and you're up till 3 a.m. because you think you're being productive and you go to sleep, you're not going to retain much of that information. It gets consolidated in your REM sleep. So if you're not having much REM sleep, you're not going to remember much. You know, it's like we talk about here on the pacing. If all you do is try and go gung-ho every day, the example there was a 1 rep bench press, you will eventually tear a pec. Whether that's a week in, a year in, it will happen. It'll put you on the sidelines. So for us, it's about what can you do every single day to actually wake up feeling good, feeling better than you did a month ago. Because then when you feel good internally, you do come off as more confident, you feel better, your body fat starts to lower a little bit. Again, you have more internal confidence, which then becomes the external confidence on the course.
Yep.
You know?
And like, guys, the question you want to be asking yourself, if you're falling into this habit of like really dragging out your days, you're grinding volume all the time, is like, why do you have to do that to make the money you want to make? Well, because you're fucking wasting most of your time, right? Like if you're effective in you can be able to achieve what would take a normal closer like 10 hours a day. You should be able to achieve that in 6 hours. by getting absolutely ruthless with your time management, delegating and outsourcing anything that falls below your hourly rate, and being extremely focused and effective in those 6 hours or 4 hours for some of you, right? Like one of our closest friends, he was doing 50K a month, taking 4 calls a day, right? In absolutely shredded, peak shape, sleep dialed in, right? Why? Because every call was focused as much as it could possibly be. He was prepared. His cognition was on point. He's able to pay attention to the prospect on the other side of the call because he's not half asleep, right? Volume is a way to make money that's going to result in you making less money, right? We can speak from personal experience here. Like I took 1 month off, Larry went longer because again he was pushing ridiculous hours back in the V-Shred days. Like guys, everything we talk about here, like we've made the same mistakes.
Jimmy,
We're not a fucking messiah here. We've made these mistakes. That's why we're able to say it to you.
we were in Portugal, and there was me, Jimmy, and a guy called Josh Beeden. Was Lucas there as well?
Lucas was there for a bit, yeah.
So my grandparent has a real nice villa in Portugal. I actually went there with Kurt Udell, which is the guy we were referencing then, for like 4 months. But the year before that, I was here with the boys. I was on V-Shred at the time. I remember just being not obsessed with chasing a number. These guys were outside, cigars. We had like a fucking crazy expensive fire pit, like state of the art villa, grandparents. These guys were out enjoying themselves, playing the guitar. I'm fucking taking sales calls. But the only good thing is, I woke up, I specifically remember it. I took 4 calls in a row from like 11 a.m. to 3 a.m., 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. All 4 closed. 2 were fucking laydowns, but I didn't care. I was showing up. These lot were outside banging on the window, playing a guitar. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
All for an extra bit of money, which I ended up just wasting anyway, because I didn't need to make the money I was actually making. I was just chasing the big months because I thought, oh, I'll earn more, it's better. But again, we come down to the sacrifice and expense of what, like what are you sacrificing by, we'll cover this in a bit, I think, but like it all goes down to the life you guys actually want. Do you need to be making 50K a month, 100K a month, or are you just seeing people making these numbers and you go, I want to make that? But there's no clear definition of what that number actually means to you kind of specifically.
100%. And the other side of that, guys, is like some of you may have a genuine like goal to hit that 50K number, for example, but how you make it is important, right? If you make that 50K a month because you're taking 14 bookings a day, 7 days a week, guess what happens at the end of that? You burn the fuck out and you have to take 3, 4, 5 months off calls. That's literally what happened to Josh at the end of V-Shred. He took like 4 months off because he could not face getting back on calls. Why? Because he was doing it in an unsustainable way, right? Yeah. So it's all about removing all of the bottlenecks and figuring out what is stopping you from making 50K with less hours of work, right? Can you self-generate your own leads from your own network and negotiate higher commissions, right? If you can negotiate with an offer owner because you know what their cost per lead is, and you're like, well, if your cost per lead or your cost per sale is $1,000, can I get $1,000 bonus for me generating my own leads and selling them into the program? They may say no, but then you can come back with, well, can I get $800? Well, yeah, so they get a free $200. You make more money for doing the same amount of work, right? So these are all things you want to think about by actually putting bumpers and putting barriers on yourself as to what are you willing to work? What are you working for? What are you sacrificing by working other hours? Yeah, guys, I got a Whoop on the wrist, right? There's a Rolly and a Cartier over there in the drawer that never gets worn. Why do I have them? Well, what does a closer spend their first 20K a month on? You buy a watch, right? And now you can't even wear it outside because I live in Europe and everyone's going to cut your hand off to steal your watch. So it is what it is. But like, why did I buy it? Because somebody else told me that was the vision of success. I don't care about it. I think Matt made a video on this a while back, actually, saying when he sold all of his watches, sold the cars, and bought like an Ineos Grenadier, and had the best time with his kids, right? I can tell you that I can guarantee that gave him way more fulfillment and way more happiness than any amount of status flexing could, right? And in my experience anyway, when you buy these things, they become more of a headache and another thing to think about, right? You go on a holiday and you're like, oh, there's no safe in the room, so I have to wear the watch out. Is it a sketchy area? All these things. With the car, right? My AMG is black. I have to wash it every 2 days, right? I can't park it on the street or I can't park it in a shopping center because someone's going to open the door and smash it. Like it just becomes a massive headache. So it's something to pay attention to and something to actually sit down and spend some time on. Whose number are you chasing?
Yeah.
Right. And breaking that down to extreme detail, right? Again, I kind of touched on this earlier on with the committed coaches team, but I did this one-on-one with every rep on the team, right? And pretty much every single one of them, if they didn't quit because they couldn't hack outbound, doubled or tripled their commissions within like 2 or 3 months because they knew exactly what that number was going for,
Yep.
right? I'll do a super like back of the envelope example right now. Let's say you want to buy a certain house and it's going to cost you $1 million, right? And you need a 200K down payment, and then your monthly payment is 4K a month, right? Well, what's the acceptable time frame? When do I want to buy? I want to buy 5 years. Okay, so within 5 years, I need to have a nest egg of 200K exactly, and I need to have free cash flow of 4K a month after taxes, right? So that is a number we can reverse engineer. Okay, so 200K over the next 5 years plus 4K a month in recurring revenue. How many calls do I need to take that to hit that, right? Well, I need to take 10 calls a day. Well, shit, I can't really take 10 calls a day. What can I improve? Is it my close rate? Is it the cash I collect per call? Is it generating another deal off the back of a deal I close? Once you have these numbers in front of you, you know exactly what you're chasing for and you know the exact timeline. It gives you permission to stop chasing other people's goals, right? The hustle porn is just porn at the end of the day, right? Most of these people posting online, by the way, haven't done any of the things that they say, but that's a conversation for another day, right? Like you want to actually reverse engineer your own numbers, exactly what is important for you and why it's important for you, right? You may have the goal of the car, which is great, right? But what you want to ask yourself is like, if you bought a Ferrari, for example, and you couldn't post it on social media, would you still want it? For a lot of people, it's about the status that that thing represents. But what you don't know is you've gone and put 200 grand into this Ferrari and the clutch goes, that's going to cost you 30 grand, right? You puncture a tire, it's 2 grand a piece, right? People see the upfront cost and they don't think about the maintenance of the fuel or taxes or insurance or anything. Like there's a lot more that goes into it than just a shiny thing on Instagram. And at the end of the day, if that's what you want, just rent it. Like it's simple as that. But I know a lot of you guys are younger, but as you start growing up, the validation you're going to get from other people is kind of going to go away, and you just want to focus on what you do, right? Because the people liking that post on Instagram weren't on a sales call at 1 a.m. on a Saturday night when all of your family was asleep and all of your friends were out, and you missed out on that memory that you're never going to get back. So it's something worth definitely sitting with and spending some time with. Again, there's a system to all of this.
Yeah.
And
there is
reverse engineering what the goal is, where you currently are, and how long it's going to take you to get there, and what levers can you pull to actually close the gap on that is what's going to give you the clarity that you need to know what to spend your time doing.
And there is no right or wrong answer, guy. Like generally, like, you know, if your goal is I want to live in X country, I want to give my missus 4K a month so she doesn't have to work, and your total still comes to 15K a month. Yeah, great. These people making 78K a month, but they might want to live in a £6 million house, drive a Bugatti. The wife expects a Louis Vuitton every week because they're working 70 hours. That isn't your goal. Like, you know, me and Jimmy, good example. Like, we could both, you know, rip off as doing 40, 50, 60K a month comms. We've chosen to work like half the hours, make half the money. We only need if I heard myself saying I only need 10K a month 5 years ago, I'd be like, you're a fucking idiot. But like $10,000 US covers me every month. It covers my money, nice house, nice cars, outsourcing all my stuff, you know, good gym, activities, and spare money every month. Why do I need to make 50 or 60? You can obviously go into the I want the investment money to retire when I'm older, but then okay, you just make an extra 3-4 grand a month and you put that into funds and let it compound over time.
Yeah. And that's the importance of looking at that long time horizon and like where do you want to be in 5 years, where do you want to be in 10 years?
Yeah.
And
goals
reverse
change
engineer from there.
Yeah, goals change. Goals change. But at the end of the day, Gay, the key thing to leave on here is the goal must be yours.
100%.
If someone in because look, I'm in a few big groups and there's some guys making silly money, amazing. It still inspires me. I'm like, that's amazing, but I don't need to make that money. So again, as long as the goal's yours, no one can tell you the goal's right or the goal's wrong.
Yeah. And what you
It's
don't
like if a
see is those same people. Go ahead, RG.
No, it's like if you're a prospect on a call and you're like, so what's your why? Oh, yeah, you know, I make 3K a month now. I need to be making 9K a month so I can leave give my husband 3K a month and eventually retire my wife in 50 years, or that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean? You're not going to go to them, well, no, that's stupid. You need to make 50K a month, you're lying. Because that is their specific goal. That has the significance to them, just like the goal should have significance and meaning to yourself.
We've kind of touched on this already. This is just putting it in black and white. You have to start with where you want to be, where you are right now. Look at all of the things that all the levers you can pull, and then pick one, work on that, fix that one bottleneck. Then once it's solved, you move on to the next, right? Kurt Udale, largely mentioned earlier on, me and Bill coached him in the box when he first came into the space, and then he took it, ran with it, and took it to an absolutely ridiculous height after there. He's one of, if not the best, most talented closers in the whole space now. But I distinctly remember when he came into the program, again, we were running 6 or 7 coaching calls a week. He was on one, maybe two, right? He'd come to the call with a very specific bottleneck that he saw from his own data. He would get feedback on that from me or Bill. We'd solve it, right? Or we'd give him feedback on it. He'd take that feedback. He'd execute it on his calls. He'd come back with the findings. We make a little tweak here or there. He solved it. And only once he solved it did he move on to the next thing, right? That's what allowed him to go from where he was back at the time, making like 2-3K a month, to making 50K a month, working, taking 4 calls a day, right? Because of everything that he's implementing here. He didn't have this system at the time. He didn't know it, but this is exactly what he was doing in order to get to where he wanted to be, right? And that's just one example. Never mind all the guys from Committed who were doing 15, 20K a month, completely outbound, working 6-7 hours a day, right? So as we say, the sales maxing name, we just thought of it because it sounds quite cool, is the system that fixes everything by removing all of that noise, right? It's everything that we're talking about here, starting with that end in mind, looking at where you are, looking at how you're spending your time right now. What resources do you have? What resources do you use? Let's cut out everything else. All right. Larry, do you want to touch on this one a bit more in totality?
Yeah, so basically, you need a full audit, whether that's so. Again, you can't just do one area and you leave other areas unturned. It's like we will look at the time aspect of where are you spending money making activities versus money wasting activities. Give you the structure so you're actually spending the time making the money to hit your actual goal that you're going to define as well. We'll look at your sales data in terms of how many calls you're taking, what's the price point, what's the biggest objections, core reviews, etc., to actually know what your bottleneck is rather than just assuming it's something. Because if you lose deals to objections, you'll think it's an objection problem. But what happens if your discovery is so crap, there's absolutely no leverage. Therefore, you can't handle objections because you're just getting such a shit goal. And again, the health audit, like how many hours are you sleeping? What's your baseline activity day to day? You don't need to do 30,000 steps, 6 hours of training, take £1,000 of peptides a month and buy a £10,000 bed and a core plunge, but you need to have some baseline. You know, then the thing we've just spent a lot of time on there, actually figuring out the life you actually want to live, you know, and we're positioning ourselves more as sales coaching because there's trainers, you know, you've got Toyin, you've got Kurt, you've got Matt, you've got Jeremy Miney, you've got Tristan Steckler. There's, you know, there's so many good sales trainers out there. We didn't want to bring out anything that competes with them. So even though we will still do core reviews where like, hey, you've invested in X, but you're not actually maximizing the ROI because you don't actually know what to work on in there because you're just over consuming content again. And as soon as you listen to something in the group, guess what IG does? Fucking send you a shitload of it from different people. And you get more infatuated by those other people. You just consume more and more and more and more. The final thing, obviously, health and performance. I mean, the final thing that ties this in, probably the most important thing of the hierarchy is the accountability. It's the enforcement. You imagine if you paid someone 10 grand, like a sales trainer, and every week you had to turn up with your numbers, where you'd spent your time and show them where you spent your hours that week. There's nothing wrong with scrolling fucking Instagram either. As long as you've got enough time to do the things you need to do in the day to hit your goal again.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You have to remove the guilt, guys, of like spending time on things that isn't necessarily going to make you money, as long as the time you did commit to making money, you actually squeeze the most juice out of it as you possibly can, right? Work, like none of you guys got into sales just because you were infatuated with sales. Like you wanted to make money and have time freedom, have location freedom. That's why everybody does it, right? It has different colors, it has different flavors, right? Depending on the exact life you want, it's going to color what that number is and where you want to live. But at the end of the day, you didn't get into it to be investing in 4 different sales trainers a year, thinking that they had something that you don't, right? They don't. They have a very good marketing angle and a way to teach you a similar thing to what you already have. That's the thing, right? I have been asked for the last like 2 years why I've never dropped a sales training offer, and this is exactly why, right? Because all I'm going to be doing is rehashing stuff I've heard from other people, and I will not get any fulfillment out of doing that because it's not actually going to help anyone. It's going to make it worse, right? This offer or this whole thing that we're talking about, this whole system just kind of came to fruition from me and largely managing accounts. And now we're taking the systems that we use to get people from making $500 to 15K a month without any extra sales training and putting it out there to help individuals, right? This is something we're doing to be able to solve the problems because you have offer owners complaining about baby bird closers, you have closers complaining about offers with shit marketing. And the reason that the closers aren't happy and the offer owner isn't happy is because all of this time is being leaked out of the bucket. It's costing you money, it's costing the business money, and it's costing you guys all the life that you actually want to have.
Yeah, I have a question. So, what do you think about like, obviously you want to have a balanced life, you want to focus on the things with more leverage, but what about for like a season, a year or two to just get ahead? Like if you just grind for like a year or two and then you kind of
Get ahead of
pull
what
things
though?
back.
Again, that comes down to your goal, right? If you're getting ahead, it suggests you're behind. So if you're behind, is that because your goal was to make 50K a month and you're at 20K a month? I agree to seasons, Mason, but again, it comes down to your goal. Like if your goal's 10K a month and you're making 20K a month, why would you need to work more hours and grind harder just for the sake of grinding harder, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I guess in my mind it's sort of a thing of wanting to get your skill set higher so that later
Yeah.
down the line you can kind of take more time off, just give yourself more
Yes.
leverage in that way.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
100%. There's a certain way to do it because like if I just answer you right now or we just answer you right now and saying like, yeah, 100% you can grind for a season, people are going to take that as permission to do everything that we just spent the last hour talking about what not to do, right?
Yeah.
Pumping volume, buying every sales training under the sun. I'm going to elevate my skill set, so I'm going to pay everybody, take it in one ear and out the other, and not implement any of it on my calls, right? There's nothing wrong with committing like let's say 10 hours a day to money making activity. You're going to want to split it, right? Because you're not going to have the focus or the connection to actually grind for 10 hours a day, especially if your nutrition and your baseline metabolic rate and your sleep is not on point. Like you're just not, right? 6 of those hours are just going to be completely wasted, right? So there's a season and there's a system to go about actually doing that in the right way. But to directly answer your question, there's nothing wrong with on seasons and off seasons, right? And everybody operates slightly differently. Like I quite like having a sprint for like a month and then taking like 4 days like and going traveling, like having a complete environmental reset. Like I don't mind working weekends and grinding those things out because I know there's a finish line, right? And I've had periods where I tried to balance both. Like I'm trying to travel while also taking sales calls. And then all of a sudden I'm up at a mountain in a beautiful Swiss canton looking at the sunset. And I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, I have to get down within 30 minutes now because I have a sales call coming up, right? For me, I prefer being either totally on or totally off. And even when I'm totally on, that does not mean 14 hours of sales calls a day. What it means is that this is a money making season. This is going to be a high priority. So everything that's not a high priority, like social life or travel or experiences, that's not a high priority in this season. So I'm not going to allocate a lot of time to that. What I'm not going to compromise on is like my movement, my activity, my sleep, because those are going to be anchors no matter what the season is, right? Do I party once or twice, once every couple of months? Yeah, of course. I'll have a massive bender with the boys, right? You're never going to get that time back. But it's all about, as cliche as it is, like it's all about selection. It's all about moderation. You have to know what you're going for and like allocate the right time to the right things and allocate the right amount of bandwidth to the right things.
Okay. And so like when you're on a money making season, an issue that I'm having is like I'll be like, okay, this is the season that I'm doing, and I'll go like for me personally, I do door to door. So I'll travel to a different area that's like random in the country, and I have nothing else to do except work and do sales training pretty much and work out. So it's like I don't know, like let's say I have 9-10 hour window to work, and then the rest of the time I'm usually just spending on sales training, but it's like it's like the issues that we talked about earlier. It's like confusing my brain because it's just so much and I'm overcomplicating the process. So
How
like,
long have
what
you
do
been
you,
in door to door, bro?
about a year. Like I've been doing doors for about a year.
Do you like knocking on doors?
I do. Yeah. It's really good actually. I really like it, but I'm thinking possibly getting into high ticket down the line, but I feel like right now I'm learning.
There's uncertain language there, bro. You can't be thinking possibly maybe wanting to, because if you're that uncertain in what you maybe want, that is never ever going to help prospects. But like,
Yeah,
what
it's
would be
not
the
going to help
reason?
prospects, but yeah, like also this is where actually sitting down and determining exactly what you want,
Yeah,
right? The problem most people have is like they'll think of something like that, like, well, I want to do this, but maybe later down the line. And it's what prospects will also say if you ask a stupid fucking question, like, and what's kind of like your timeline in terms of doing this? Oh, maybe 6 months. Like, don't ask that question, right? The timeline is dictated by priorities, and the priorities is dictated by the problem and the pain from your discovery, right? But the same thing when you're applying it to yourself is like, what is it you actually want? Because if you have a personality like mine, where it's like I like to be super on for a season and then like have breaks, like door to door works really well for that. And there's plenty of guys absolutely crushing it there. And if you enjoy it and you're good at it, there's nothing wrong with it. The question you want to ask yourself is like, what is it the high ticket gives me that this doesn't give me that I would like to have? And is it worth the trade-off? Right.
Mm.
But the main point there is like if all of your time is spent on sales training, then it becomes a question of like, well, what exactly is the thing that's holding you back from getting more
yeah.
deals over the line specifically? Not, oh, Matt's doing an objection handling call on Wednesday. I need to attend that call so I can get better at objection handling. Like objection handling mightn't be any of your issues,
Yeah.
right?
What
So it's
would
just
You don't know if you're
identifying
not
the
trying.
constraints and then
Correct.
what would be the reason you want to get out of door to door and get into high ticket sales?
so the thing I was considering was just the location freedom aspect, but I'm not sure like right now if I'll be able to match the income that I'm doing with doors in high ticket, which is kind of the thing that's holding me back. So I'm weighing up the uh
What's your needed income goal? Not I don't need, I'm not asking what you're making now. Like, what would you need to do to transition?
maybe 8 to 10K a
Do you
month.
think? And when you say you don't know if it's possible, do you know people that are making 8 to 10K a month and above in high ticket sales?
Yeah.
So where's the doubt coming from?
Yeah,
Mm. Because it's such a different sales, like it's such a different sell than I'm used to.
for
So
sure.
like I don't know if I'll
Hmm.
be able to very
Well,
quickly get back over.
well, can I share a perspective on that?
Yeah,
Yeah. How long have you been in door to door?
1 year.
Okay. 3 years ago, were you used to doing door to door and used to making the money that you're making door to door?
Nope.
Okay. So you've been in a situation where you came into something new, you learned a new skill set, you succeeded at it, but now you're doubting whether you could do that again. Why?
That's a good point.
The only reason we ask, Mace, is because if
Yeah.
something holds you back now, it'll hold you back in the future, whether that's transitioning from door to door to high ticket sales, or whether that's from transitioning from door to door to having your own business. So if you're generally considering it, I would. What sales training you're learning? Is it just Matt's, or have you gone into something else?
I've done NEPQ 2.0, and then I did some one-on-one coaching with a couple door-to-door guys. That's yeah, and then I just joined Matt's program today, so
Okay.
this is yeah.
Because for me, it's like if anyone wants to make a transition, you don't need to go all in straight away. And I know sometimes we can say you need to do that, but it's like you've got job security now. But if I was you and I was wanting to make the transition, I would certainly be looking to get into a role to do a few hours a day on top of my door-to-door job to get me the skills and the confidence. Because as soon as you start making the extra money and you see the potential for the hours you put in once you got the right skills, it's very, very easy to make a transition then when you see light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
I
dude,
guess
I
for
made a
me the
post on like
main
Facebook
yep.
like 4 years ago, and it was the same thing. Like burning the boats gets such a glorification in the world we're in the self-improvement space, and like survivorship bias and all these things fall into place. But like burning the boats, if you look at it like an investor, is like you're not going to invest in something that has a 2x upside and a 100x downside, right? Or it's like, oh, this either goes to 10x or I lose all my money. Like it's a stupid bet, right? You invest in things that have an asymmetric upside. So if you're going to completely burn all the things that are making you money right now to go all in on this brand new thing that has no proof, like it's just stupid, right? And like it gets glorification all the time. And it sounds great when it works out. You don't hear the stories of when it doesn't work out, right? It doesn't need to be one or the other. You can absolutely get on an account. It's not going to be the best account in the world, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too and expect to be on the best offer where everyone's doing 40K a month and you're only going to commit 2 hours a day. But you can get your foot in the door and prove to yourself that you're able to gather some data, positive feedback loop, and gather some data that you can do this, and then you scale from there, right? Same thing if you're like launching an ecom brand, you don't go out there and put 100 grand into inventory immediately before you know if the thing is going to sell. Like you run some ads to a checkout page and see if it converts, and then you go and do it, right? It's the same thing here, right? And be wary of anyone who tells you otherwise. Like recruiters will tell you otherwise, offer owners will tell you otherwise, and like because they have something to gain from it. At the end of the day, you're used to this in door to door, you're used to rejection, but like every no is closer to the next yes, and that applies to everything, right? There's nothing stopping you if somebody shows hunger, and if like me and Large are in a hiring seat quite often from a management perspective, and if someone comes to me and they're like, I can only really commit 2 hours a day, but this is what I've done, right? I'm used to cold prospecting. I'm used to doing follow-ups. I'm used to doing referrals and all this. Like I'm going to want that person on my team rather than the person who's going to commit to 8 slots a day, but then they jump on a Zoom call and the person doesn't show up, and then they don't even call them or text them or email them. And they're just like, oh, I've had 6 no-shows today. Like, what did you do with the rest of your time? I did sales training. Like, you're just not going to win.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, guys, we'll post the recording when it's edited. We'll post the presentation just to remind you, guys, what it is and what we've done. And then if you have any questions, just comment on it or tag me and James. And then because you guys are like the first on the call, we're more than happy to kind of go through questions, give you some advice. Obviously, Frankie, if you message James on school, we'll sort that one-on-one out. And then before we jump off, James, let's rock and roll. Question.
Yeah, so I've been finding transitioning from setting into closing very overwhelming. Obviously, I'm in SDS, and with seeing all these wins, I actually took some time to realize, like, is that something I even want to do? Would I want to make that much money? And did all the reverse engineering about my life. And I'm just finding at the moment, like, how do I really go from essentially I'm at zero within closing to getting some sort of motion? I'm just feeling so overwhelmed with what to sort of start with.
Yeah, dude, it takes taking a step back, but also knowing, like having somebody experienced who's been in this space for a while, like just having a conversation with them, right? Like you're in STS and I know what the guys in there are like it's a super high standards community, but if you actually show that like you're struggling and like somebody is going to be willing to help, right? The big advantage, guys, like how do I put this? One of the most misleading beliefs in the whole info space is that you're lacking information, which we've just spent the last hour and 12 minutes talking about. That's not the case, right? You can find everything for free online if you look hard enough. Information is never the gap, right? So it takes somebody actually looking at your situation and asking these questions like you would on a sales call to unpar or to parse out, like, what is this overwhelm coming from, right? Is it because you don't know what to do, because you have too much things being thrown at you and you think, oh, I need to get an ROI on this training program, so I'm just going to attend all the calls? It's not going to give you an ROI, right? ROI is how much money you make versus how much time it's going to take you to get there. And if you're not making anything, you're not getting an ROI. And attending more coaching calls is not going to solve that, no matter what a sales trainer tells you, right? You need to know what the bottleneck is, right? So I have time. My guy in this call is no showing right now. So when you say you're completely overwhelmed, like, walk us through that. Why are you so overwhelmed? What are the things that are causing that overwhelm?
Just seeing how easy it is for others, probably comparing myself to others who obviously have been doing it for a much longer time than me, and wanting those results, because I'm very impatient by nature. Just wanting those results now, and then trying to go through a lot of things at once.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I always say is when you see other people doing it and you comparing, people will always say comparison is like the thief of evil or thief of joy. But it's like, again, I heard Kurt reference this a year or so ago. If I look at someone making 100K a month in the same group as me, I'm like, well, if they can do it, so can I. The question you need to figure out is, what is causing you most overwhelm right now? What is your actual goal? Because if your goal is X, maybe you can achieve that setting and then you can get to that baseline setting. Then you can reallocate some time towards a closing aspect when you've got your free time. Or again, you can jump on offers and try and become hybrid, like you can set and close. So you make emotion money from setting, but then look, I'm invested into this program. I'm a setter. I'm very good. I'd love the opportunity to try and set some of the dead leads and then close the dead leads because it costs the business owner nothing. No clever business owner will turn you down on that. All these leads have
Yeah.
been paid for already. You can jump in and literally set and close them. But it's like, again, where are you bottleneck? You need to figure out firstly where the overwhelm comes from. Like, what is overwhelming you? If it's just a sheer amount of information, I would maybe, just in talking STS specifically, bro, I would try and get on a call with Connor, who has become the CSM recently, and just say, Connor, look, I've joined recently. I'm really overwhelmed with what to do. Can you at least just give me like a baseline plan for 3 or 4 weeks? This is my aim. I'm a setter now. I don't need to close full time. I want to slowly get into closing. What 4 calls would you watch? What 4 resources would you watch? And just spend, honestly, the next month, 2 months, 3 months only watching those things. Don't go to any calls. Don't do anything else. Just get good at those things first.
What I would
think
say as well,
something.
dude, like if you're overwhelmed because you see how easy it is for other people, first of all, I'd be very careful how you speak to yourself. You don't know what their journey was. You don't know how easy it was for them. You just see the highlight reel, and people will share what they think other people want to hear, and they won't share what it actually took, right? First of all. Second of all, you see someone doing 50K and it's like, well, I'm at 0, I want to get to 50K. It's like, no, dude, you need to get to like 2K first, and then stair step to 4, and then stair step to 6, and then stair step to 10, right? The reason you're so overwhelmed, I would guess, because I don't have the full view situation, is because you're seeing this massive mountain, right? And you're down here and you're looking up like, fuck me, that's so tall, right? And you see all these guys up the top, they're looking down at you and they're like, oh, come on, just take a step, right? But you're so in your own head, you're your biggest enemy that's preventing you from just taking one step. And that's all you need to take. You take one step, and then you take the next one, and you take the next one. Right, guys? I don't know if any of you have done like extreme sports, but when I read David Goggins' book, I used to do a lot of mountain biking and kayaking and stuff like that.
Ooh,
And he
hard
talked
man
about
sport.
what's that?
Hard man sport.
My nervous system only reacts to things when I'm about to die at any moment. But one of the biggest things that I took out of Goggins' book was like when he's running these ridiculous ultra marathons, he's not thinking about the whole distance. He's like picking a rock 100 meters up the road, and he's like, I just need to get there.
Yeah.
Right. And then he picks another tree 200 meters. I just need to get there. And he does not think about the rest of the road, all the Route 66 he sees in front of him. He's fucking laser focused on that one rock, and he just needs to get there. And before he gets there, he doesn't think about anything else. Just laser focus on that rock. He gets to it, and then he picks the next milestone, right? And that's something I used a lot when I was doing that. Guys, everything comes back. Like, there's a saying out there: how you do one thing is how you do everything. And you can use these life experiences to inform how you do your sales. It's how you create analogies, like I just did, because I have experience to be able to do it, right? This guy after joining? No, he's not. It's how you actually get life experience. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard in sales and in business specifically is this whole monk mode thing, right? If you do monk mode as a salesperson, you're going to become so autistic, it's not even funny. Like your whole job relies upon being able to communicate with people, right? And be able to speak to people. But what you're doing is sitting there 12 hours a day watching call recordings and listening to frameworks and playing with ChatGPT and all these things is like, you're just going to become super autistic at the end of the day. Not PR friendly, whatever it is, but like that's what's going to happen, right? If you don't have life experience, if you're not taking care of your health, right, you don't have anything to speak about outside of sales, you're going to be super boring. You're going to pay 10 grand to go to this mastermind with a load of salespeople, and all you're going to talk about is sales. Like, wow, what a life. You're super interesting. You can reframe a partner objection. You're so cool. I really want to be friends with you. No, it's not going to work, right? The sales should serve your life. Your life shouldn't be to serve sales.
Yeah. We're doing another call in a few weeks, James. If you do struggle, we'll do one on STS before one as well. Just jump on. You know, tell us what you've done since we last spoke, and then we'll give you some more pointers and stuff, dude, as well. And again, when I post this into Matt's group after the call, the actual PDF first, just comment on there, and we can have a bit of back and forth until the next call as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But the key thing I'd say to you is you've been successful in sport. It's just learning something different. Like you've achieved more in sport than a lot of people would, you know? So it's like, know you are successful, know you're good enough, know you're capable. It's just the fact you need the right, as Jimmy put perfectly there, the right little stepping stones in place to just move inch by inch by inch by inch.
Yeah, the main thing is the being impatient. Like I believe I can get to a certain goal in a month or two, but then when I speak to my sales manager, they're like, I think that'll take a year, and it's like,
Don't
really?
even seek other people's opinions. Just know
Yeah.
that time takes time, and if it takes 6 months, it's better than it taking 10 years. But if you're always focused
Yeah.
on getting there quicker, you're going to miss the key little steps, which probably means you end up just spinning your wheels. It's the same as if you consume content for 10 hours a day, you're probably not going to move a needle forward because you're just going to consume too much and get too confused. You know, I honestly, whatever opinion, your sales manager could be the best in the world, but it's like his opinion still isn't valid. It's your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's, it doesn't matter who they are, guys. Nobody's opinion beats your own data,
Yeah.
right? If you're paying for a fitness coach and they say keto is the only way to lose fat, like keto is the only way to get below 12% body fat, but you've been following, and if it fits your macros diet and you're already at 10%, it's like, it doesn't matter what they say. You could have paid them 100 grand. Doesn't matter what they say. You have the data right in front of you to show that that's not true. And this goes for sales training too. Because I do coach sales also, and I say it to people all the time, is like, what I can do, I can give you my recommendations based on what I've seen from my own calls and from teams and people that I've coached and people that I manage. But at the end of the day, if you're doing something and it's working, and I recommend that you change something and it makes it worse, then do what you were already doing, right? If it's working, that's what matters. You don't need to necessarily know why it's working.
Yeah.
You just need to know that it is working. And that comes down to having that clarity and having that data and knowing exactly what inputs you're putting in and what outputs that's generating.
Yeah, just before we wrap up, James, on that, it's like if a sales manager says to you, I think it might take you a year, imagine those people have terrible accidents and the doctor's like, you'll never walk again. And then 3 months later, they're walking.
Yeah.
You know, anything's possible, dude. So like, I would say, well done on doing your goals. Make sure, again, just go over them again. Make sure they're exactly what you want right now. Slowly figure out, can you make that from setting in the next few months? If you can, maybe get consistent at that income first, so you know you've got a reliable income stream. I mean, you might have to sacrifice a little bit of time to then learn closing, but then you can transition and do a hybrid approach. I mean, you're not putting pressure on yourself, decreasing your income by added stress. You know, and any free time you get on those shows that you're not been setting, you can just learn some more closing stuff in the background, as long as it's the stuff you need to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
All right,
Guys, we're going to
so
jump, but good call. We'll post this, and then any takeaways. If it's boring, if you haven't enjoyed it, that's fine. We can't please everybody. You know, my wife says I don't please her, but that's for another day. So yeah, we'll wrap up on that one, guys. Enjoy.
all right, guys.
Thank you,
Hope this is
guys.
helpful. Let us know if you need help with anything else. We're going to be running this again. So
Yeah.
take it, implement it, please. That's all we ask. Don't let it be something that goes in one ear and out the other. Like, take some time. Don't do anything digital. Pen and paper. Write down what you want. Write down what the bottlenecks are. Start tracking your data, and then from there we can be a bit more interactive the next time it comes around, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Ciao for now. Go make
Okay,
some money.
guys.
Thanks. Bye bye.